The highly anticipated fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, set to be streamed by Netflix, represents a significant moment in the intersection of sports, entertainment, and media. On one hand, it is a thrilling spectacle aimed at a massive audience, blending nostalgia, celebrity culture, and influencer-driven media. On the other hand, it poses a series of troubling questions for the future of boxing, the role of athletes as influencers, and the ethics of promoting fights that blend sports with entertainment. In order to better understand this controversial matchup, we must consider the key elements of the spectacle, including the promotional strategies, the personalities involved, and the impact on the sport. Historically, boxing has been defined by fierce rivalries, legendary fighters, and the raw appeal of athletic competition. However, in the modern era, particularly with the rise of social media and streaming platforms, the line between entertainment and sport has become increasingly blurred. For many years, pay-per-view events such as the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight of 2015 were the pinnacle of boxing's commercial success. They drew millions of viewers and became global cultural moments. But even those fights, while featuring two of the best boxers of their era, lean heavily into spectacle, with hyped promotional tours and media frenzies leading up to the actual bout. The Mike Tyson vs. Jake Paul fight, promoted by Netflix, takes this blending of media and sport to the next level. Netflix's involvement, with its massive global subscriber base and sophisticated algorithm, brings the spectacle to a broader, younger audience than a traditional pay-per-view event could. This is an audience that may not have a deep appreciation for the sport of boxing but who are drawn to the personalities involved. Tyson, a former heavyweight champion whose reputation for ferocity is still iconic, and Paul, an influencer-turned-boxer who has garnered millions of followers online for his pranks, challenges, and celebrity fights. As Mark Borkowski, a PR veteran, points out, the fight is straight out of the playbook of P.T. Barnum. Barnum, the legendary showman, understood how to engage the public by creating spectacles that captivated attention and generated excitement. While purists may scoff at the idea of Tyson, who is well past his prime, fighting Jake Paul, whose boxing skills remain unproven against top-tier opponents, the reality is that this fight is not primarily about athletic competition. Instead, it is about creating a spectacle that combines the power of nostalgia, the viral nature of influencer culture, and the vast reach of streaming platforms like Netflix. In this sense, the Tyson vs. Paul event has less in common with traditional boxing matches and more in common with the circus-like entertainment of the past. One of the key factors in making this fight such a commercially viable product is the unique combination of the two personalities involved. Mike Tyson, despite being 58 years old and well past his fighting prime, remains one of the most famous figures in boxing history. His reign as the youngest heavyweight champion in history and his reputation for brutal knockouts have cemented his place in sports lore. Tyson's name still holds a level of respect and reverence, particularly among older generations who grew up watching him dominate the sport in the late 1980s. Tyson's involvement in this fight, however, raises ethical concerns. The fact that he is 58 years old and has not fought in years makes this matchup questionable in terms of his health and well-being. Tyson himself has admitted that he is not the same fighter he once was, yet he continues to make appearances and take part in exhibitions, even though many feel that this compromises his legacy. Jake Paul, on the other hand, has no such legendary reputation in boxing. However, what he lacks in boxing pedigree, he makes up for in social media influence. As a YouTube personality turned professional boxer, Paul has built a brand based on controversial stunts, celebrity feuds, and viral content. His fights, which have often been against lower-level or even retired opponents, have garnered massive attention, particularly from younger viewers who are more interested in Paul's personality and online antics than his actual boxing skills. While many in the boxing community dismiss Paul as a gimmick or a joke, he has proven to be a shrewd businessman, able to capitalize on his fame to generate interest in his fights. The Tyson vs. Paul fight is, in many ways, a natural culmination of Paul's journey from internet star to a central figure in the world of celebrity boxing. This blending of personalities, sports, and media appeal is why Netflix is so heavily invested in the event. As Adam Kelly, the president of media at the global sports rights agency IMG, points out, Tyson vs. Paul is much bigger than boxing. It represents the future of sports broadcasting. With traditional television ratings declining and streaming platforms looking for ways to engage with younger audiences, live events such as Tyson vs. Paul are becoming a key part of the content strategy. Netflix, with its massive global subscriber base, has the ability to leverage its algorithm to promote this fight to millions of viewers who might not normally tune in to a boxing match. The interest in Tyson vs. Paul is driven not by the promise of a competitive contest, but by the spectacle and the personalities involved. Kelly likens the Tyson vs. Paul fight to the Mayweather vs. McGregor fight in 2017, which also attracted massive attention despite the lack of competitive balance. Just like that fight, Tyson vs. Paul taps into the crossover appeal of celebrity culture. While purists may scoff at these types of events, they are undeniably effective at bringing new fans into the sport. For better or worse, the fusion of sports and entertainment is becoming an increasingly dominant force in the industry, and events like Tyson vs. Paul are proof of that. The fight is emblematic of a larger trend in sports where traditional boundaries between sport and entertainment are being erased. In the past, athletes were primarily known for their sporting achievements, but today, many athletes are also celebrities, influencers, and entertainers. The rise of social media has allowed athletes to build their own personal brands, and in doing so, they have transformed the way we think about sports. For example, Jake Paul's rise to fame is based largely on his ability to engage with fans through social media and create viral content. His boxing career is, in many ways, an extension of his online persona rather than a legitimate athletic pursuit. While this may seem shallow to some, it is a reflection of how sports are evolving in the digital age. Despite the spectacle surrounding the Tyson vs. Paul fight, many traditional boxing fans remain skeptical. Boxing purists view this matchup as an affront to the integrity of the sport. They argue that Tyson's reputation is being exploited for financial gain, and that Paul, who has no legitimate boxing pedigree, is simply using the sport as a vehicle for his fame. There is also the concern that events like Tyson vs. Paul diminish the prestige of boxing as a serious sport. If the sport becomes more about celebrity fights and viral moments than actual competition, it risks alienating longtime fans and diminishing its credibility. The impact of this fight, however, may go beyond boxing itself. It is indicative of the larger trends in sports entertainment, where the focus is increasingly on creating spectacles that attract viewers, rather than on producing genuine athletic competition. This is a model that has been adopted by the WWE, where entertainment and sport are seamlessly blended to create events that attract large audiences. In many ways, the Tyson vs. Paul fight is a natural evolution of this trend, with the lines between sport and entertainment becoming even more fluid. In the end, the Tyson vs. Paul fight may prove to be a significant moment in the history of sports media. It represents the fusion of traditional sports with new media and the blending of athletic competition with celebrity culture. While the fight may not be a true showcase of boxing skill, it will undoubtedly attract a massive audience and generate significant revenue. Whether this marks the future of boxing or simply an anomaly in the sport's history remains to be seen. But one thing is clear, the lines between sports and entertainment will continue to blur, and events like Tyson vs. Paul will be at the forefront of that evolution.